Hey everyone, welcome to the 12th edition of Tiny Talks. Tiny Talks is a place wherein Rocket alums share their real world learnings on while working on their projects, real world projects. So today we have Sneha Amruth with us. Um, she'll be talking about using GitHub Actions to create custom workflows while doing pull requests. How do you customize it based on your team's needs? How do you label it, assign reviewers, manage the queues, enforce conventions, and so on? Quick intro about some Sneha. She has about 6 years of experience. She's worked at a bunch of places. Right now, she works as a senior software engineer at Expedia Group. Super excited to have you, Sneha, with us. And yeah, over to you.
Thanks for the intro, Swapnil. Hey everyone. Let me share my screen. I think it says host disabled. Okay. Yeah. So as Swapnil mentioned that today I'll be talking about streamlining PR process with GitHub Actions. Uh, I think he also introduced me, so I'll skip that part. Um let's go through the agenda. I'll start from the basics. I'll talk about what GitHub Actions are and what are the components that are there in GitHub Actions. Like there are workflows, jobs, and steps. How do you write them? What all are included in GitHub Actions? And I'll also speak about how do you trigger those events? On what basis will the workflow be triggered? And different activity types, and how we can run different jobs parallelly and sequentially. And we'll also go through some use cases I'll start from the basic use cases, and I'll also show some other a little advanced uh, examples. Yeah, let's start with what GitHub Actions are. It's a workflow automation service provided by GitHub um, to automate all kinds of repository related processes and actions. That is, like we have CI/CD processes to merge the PRs that you create, to merge the code to production. That is, before merging code to the production, you have this build, test, and deployment processes, right? So to automate all that, we can use GitHub Actions, and also uh, for the code and repository management. That is to automate pull request reviews or issue management. As in, whenever you create a pull request, you can add GitHub Actions to add certain labels, or to build, test, and we write test cases for different components in, for example, in React. So all those test cases will be run if you have a GitHub action in place. So that happens with, we can achieve that as well with GitHub Actions. Um, so this is what GitHub Actions are. GitHub Actions are in short. Let me go to the next one. So what are the key components in GitHub Actions? We have three key components. That is workflow, jobs, and steps. Um, a workflow includes two. A workflow can include two or more jobs. One or more jobs, as well as a job. So either we can have one job with multiple steps, or we can have multiple jobs with different steps in it within a single workflow that we create. Let me go more detail into, I hope I'm audible. Yeah.
Yes, you are.
Yeah. So let me go into detail about workflow is. Workflow is nothing but a configurable automated process that will run one or more jobs, as I showed in the previous slide, that it can have one or more jobs. And also, these workflows that we write are written in YAML file. It's a readable form. It's a configurable file that we write. When I'm showing it the example, I'll show how we write it in YAML file. And
The workflows are triggered by an event in our repository, or they can even also be triggered manually, or we can even schedule it. So there are different ways that we can trigger these workflows. Coming to the what a job is. A job is a set of steps in a workflow which is executed in the same runner. I'll explain what runner is in the next slides. And again, as you have seen in the previous slides, it can contain one or more steps. We can run those steps, we can run those jobs either parallelly or sequentially. I'll also provide an example for that. And again, these jobs can be conditional, like we do not want to run them always. We want to run them on when certain conditions are met. Yeah, coming to what steps are. Steps, it basically executes a shell script or actions. I'll also speak about what actions are. Uh, we can use a custom or third-party actions. And steps are, again, steps are always executed in order. Jobs can be parallel or sequentially run, but steps are always executed in the order that we have mentioned. And again, they can be conditional as well. Coming to what runners are. As I mentioned here, a job is a set of steps in a workflow that is executed on the same runner. What does a runner mean? To probably, okay, let me explain that first. A runner is a server. We want a place wherein we want a server wherein these workflows are run, because GitHub Actions are run on pull requests or on your repository. So we need to specify specific runners where we need to run the workflows. So when we create a GitHub Actions workflow, it specifies a series of steps or jobs that need to be performed. All these steps will be executed on the runner that we mentioned. So there are different types of runner. GitHub has its own hosted runners. We could use them in the examples that I show. I'll use the GitHub hosted runners itself. Or there are cases when you want to run in a virtual machine or something like that. We can have a self-hosted runner as well. Coming to some examples of what GitHub hosted runners are: Ubuntu latest, Windows latest, Mac OS latest. These are some runners that are provided by GitHub itself. Coming to what actions are. Actions, I mentioned about actions here. Within steps, we use different actions. Actions are nothing but individual or reusable units of code that automates the tasks within a workflow. These are just the building blocks of workflows because they perform specific tasks that we keep on using. We can create some actions, and there are some reusable pieces of code that are available. And we can either create custom actions, or there is also GitHub Marketplace wherein people host their actions, and we can use those actions from the GitHub Marketplace. Actions are used by using the use keyword. I'll show it in the example when I create some examples. I'll show you how we use the actions. Yeah, let's get right into the code to actually understand how each of these jobs, workflows, and actions work. Let me also just open this. So the first step is I just have a React project here, and I have some test cases and sample code just for the sake of presentation. So I'll not go into the details of what this is. Let me just run it and show you. I already did a npm run test. This is just a simple code that is there to just with a button and some content here. So that's the code part here. Let me show you how we create our workflows. I'll start with a very basic creation of a workflow, that is printing a hello world. So The way that we have our workflows is uh, we need to have a folder created called .github, and in that a will have a folder called work, and within those workflows we write our YAML files. We Within these workflows is where we have all the GitHub actions and workflows that we write. So let me start with a very basic one, that is print hello dot YAML. This is the extension YML. So for this workflow, the first part is writing the name. What is the name of the workflow that we are having here? That is print hello. And then we have, let me just open this as well. The next part that I was mentioning is, for every workflow that we create, we have an event trigger. So that event trigger is mentioned in on. It's this is the way that it knows that what is the event triggers are mentioned here. So right now, as I mentioned previously, event triggers can be either manually executed, or they are executed based on an event type. That is, the other event types I'll probably mention in the next example. I am putting it as a manual execution, that is workflow dispatch. This is the name that we give if we want to manually execute this workflow. The next part is jobs. As I mentioned, workflow has jobs under it. Let's name this job. That is, first, let me just do a print hello job and runs on. We have a run on that the runners that I mentioned. I'm just using the GitHub runner that are already available to us, which is Ubuntu latest. This is the runs on Ubuntu latest, and then we give the steps under it. What are the different steps that we have? Let me have 2 steps. That is, let me name the step. Here we give the name of the step. So print hello is the name of my step. And then what I'll do is, this is the way that we print any sort of like a console log sort of a thing in GitHub Actions using run and echo. I'm doing that. Then print by, then echo by. Let me push this code. Just create a pull request. So I'm just putting in some title and description for the pull request. So once a pull request is created, I'll go to the actions. Within actions, we have different, second. Looks like I'm missing something. I do not see that folder. 1 second, let me just. Sorry about that. Just give me a minute. Let me just probably merge this one, and then probably we'll be able to see. So full request and merge. Yeah, the code wasn't merged, so I wasn't able to see. Uh, as you can see within actions, we have the print hello workflow that we just created. And since the event is to manually trigger it, we can do a run workflow here and click on run workflow to manually trigger this event. Yeah, you can see that the job just started to run. This workflow has just started. We can click on the workflow and then see. Yeah, it has run successfully. Let's just open this and see the different steps. So when we open this, we can see the different steps that we mentioned. That was print hello. And it just printed since we just printed a echo hello, it just printed this. And also there is another job that got printed out, which is back. So we mentioned like 2 steps and those got printed out. So this is a very basic example that I wanted to give to understand the workflow, the jobs, how we write the jobs, how we write a YAML file. Another thing to note is in YAML file, we always have to have the indentation, right? Otherwise the code breaks and it won't run properly. So the indentation should be correct for this. So let me go to the next level and understand another example wherein I mentioned one example wherein we need to run the test before the PR is merged. So let me just create that workflow. Run test cases. Then we have on run test cases. Another event is push event. Whenever there is a commit that is made to the PR, we can have the workflow running. Let me also quickly show you what are the different events that are available that GitHub provides. As you can see here, there are a bunch of events that we can have. Like there is pull request review, as in whenever you raise a request for whenever you raise a PR for review, we can run a GitHub workflow, or when we push, as I'm using right now, we can use a push as well event to trigger the workflow. So these are some another one is that we just use was manually triggering, which is workflow dispatch. These are different events that are available that you guys can explore. So let me probably I'll just I have the code already. I'll run through the code. Let me get the yeah. Let me get the code here. I'll explain the code in a bit. Yeah, so I give the name of the workflow, and as I mentioned, the event is whenever we push to the pull request. And then we have a different name of the job to be just test, and then runs on as a runner. We have different steps here. That is, get code is for the first step, and here we are using the use keyword. Uh, as I mentioned in the slides, that GitHub provides different custom actions that are already available in the GitHub marketplace. That is here. Let me open a GitHub marketplace and quickly show what are the custom actions that are available. Yeah, so this is a like a marketplace whose certain custom actions, like checkout is one of them that we are using, that is on a particular runner. Like on that runner, what we want to do is on that server, we want to install the, we have 3 steps here. That is, we want to check out our code that is there, and we want to install the Node.js on it, and then run the dependencies. And also, after running the dependencies, our goal of this workflow is to run the test cases. So that is why I'm using a custom GitHub Actions, which is already available for us. And the next one is installing the Node.js. This is another GitHub action that is already available that I'm using. And with is a keyword again. Within that, we can specify certain parameters that are available within this custom GitHub Actions. Like every GitHub Actions, they mention what are the other, these are like some of the parameters that we can specify, like what is the repository, token, and all of that, to be very specific. So here I'm mentioning I want the Node.js version to be 18. And then I have the install dependencies. This is the command that I want to run. And then the next one is running the test. Generally, locally, we run these tests using npm run tests, right? So I mentioned the command for it. Let me push this code and see what happens. So here we just created a test case, PR. Yes, so you can see that once we created the pull request, it immediately ran this. We didn't have to trigger it manually because this was the event trigger was whenever you push to the your particular PR or a branch. Let's just open this. When you click on details, it opens the workflow. As you can see, there are different steps that are that we mentioned are here. It the get code, install JS, install dependencies, run tests. That it ran all the 2 tests that are there. Let me show you locally what the tests are, and let's fail some of the tests and see what happens. Yeah. I'm just doing like I'm changing the text here. That is no area. So right now it should fail the test. Let me locally run this and just check if it's failing the test here locally. So yeah, it's failing. In most cases, what we do is we write the tests and we add them to this. This is queued right now. So it should fail the run tests. Yeah, as you can see, it by having these run tests workflow, it shows that certain test case is failing, and it'll also tell you Where it's failing, it gives the test case name and all of that. So this is a very good workflow to have in our when we raise our PRs for different components. We have multiple test cases written. So in those cases, we can have this workflow in place so that we know we do not push any code wherein certain test cases are failing. So we can have, it's a good check to have by putting it in the GitHub Actions. So this is one of the examples. Let me just go to another example to let you know how we can run the jobs parallelly and sequentially. So let me just go through this code. Another way that we can mention the event triggers is we can have one or more event triggers. In this case, you can see that one event trigger is when you push the code to your PR, or you can also manually trigger. That is, this is the way that we write to provide multiple event triggers. Uh, so this job that we already saw, we have this getting code, installing JS, Node.js dependencies, and running the tests. But this is the first job that we have. And what a second job could be. Like I'm giving an example of running the jobs sequentially. That is, I want this job to run before deploying my code. So I can use the needs keyword and mention the name of the job to be run before running the this particular job, the deploy job. So this is the way that we run the jobs sequentially, because we want to test the code before we deploy it. Yeah, again, this contains similar kind of steps, except that the last one we are just for the sake of understanding, I'm just doing an echo deploying, but generally you deploy to your S3 bucket. So here I'm just running this. Let me just push this code. And push this code. You can see that as soon as we push the code, this is running, because we have two event triggers here. One is to run manually and one is to run it when we push the code. So yeah, you can see here under jobs, we have uh, two jobs mentioned. Okay, this job was skipped because the previous one failed. Since we have the now it should run both the let me just open this. Now it should run both the jobs successfully. Yeah, you can see that. Yeah, you can see that the first job ran successfully. Then we have the deploy, which is running. Within deploy, you can see, we just echoed this deploying, so we can see this. Generally, what we do is, as I mentioned, deploy to a particular. So yeah, this is one example wherein you want to run the job sequentially. You can do this by having the needs keyword. And yeah, let me Yeah, another such example, another one example is when we want to check if a pull request, if there is no activity on a certain pull request, we want to close them automatically. We can have, this is a sample code that I have. I'll just quickly go through this, run through this. We want to label them as a stale pull request. So here we have a name of the workflow. Here we are scheduling. Like as I mentioned, there are different event types. Actually, let me show the, yeah, even on event types, there is something called activity types. That is that example I can give it here. This is the event name. Within the event, we can provide a certain activity type. That is, pull request can have different types. That is, when a certain label is attached. Say for example, when I add the label ready for peer review, I want certain assigners to be assigned to the pull request. That can be done automatically using the workflow. So this is the activity. These are the different activities that types that are available. Like when a pull request is closed, you want to do a certain action. When it's open, you want to do a certain action. And here I've used something called label. You can again mention different types here and run the trigger those workflows based on the whenever so one of the conditions is met. So this is how we can use activity types. And coming back to the one that was referring, which was, yeah, stale PR check, right? So here I'm allowing to be manually triggered, or I'm also allowing it to be scheduled to be run on a certain time. And then we have the job and the different steps. This is again a GitHub action that is all custom action that is already available in the marketplace that I have used. And these are the different, again, specifics, the parameters that I mentioned with those values. Like I've mentioned that after 5 days of start, I want to close it and add the PR label to be stale. So this is one pull request, one workflow wherein we can like close it or add a PR label called stale. Once it runs on a scheduled basis, or you can trigger it even manually. This is another one such example. And coming to other examples, the other examples are, and I also mentioned that we can add conditions when a job should run. So here, this is one example, that is assigned reviewers when a label is attached. So the event trigger is pull request when it's labeled, but what is the label can be mentioned within the job. That is jobs assigned reviewer. If we can have the if condition within a job, and these are again some uh, the GitHub contexts that are available for us that we can use. So this is one such GitHub context that we have, github.event.label name, and it's ready for review. I want these steps to be run. So I can do this as well. And then, yeah, again, another one example is when we open a pull request, we can add a label to the PR. So we can have some custom GitHub actions, use them and mention these values and run them. Yeah, let me also show. Yeah, I just wanted to show the GitHub. There is also GitHub event expression and context that I wanted to talk about. Yeah, so GitHub dot. Yeah, this was the property name that I used. That is GitHub dot event over here that I just showed previously. So these are different property names that are available for us to use. We can use those and get certain values. Like I want to echo the event values. Then I can do GitHub dot event in my run script. So you can explore this and see what are the available GitHub context events, and then use them as per your use cases. So yeah, these were the simple examples that I wanted to actually show. You can do multiple complex um, workflows as well, add in your workflows to automate your PR processes. Like one such example in my workplace that we use is whenever we add the label, we assign certain reviewers on a round robin fashion. That is, we can create teams within the organization. Like I just created a sample organization here and test project. Here we could mention we have teams created, and then let me just open the, yeah. Yeah, just created a test peer reviewers. And I mentioned two people. We can create such team and assign to this particular team using a GitHub action and trigger the reviewers to the assign the reviewers to a pull request whenever we add a label or whenever we do certain push to the PR. Actually, I was getting some HTTP errors, so I'm not able to run this assigning the label to the PR, assigning the reviewers to the PR, which I will explore and probably post it in the community later on. But yeah, this is one such example that is really helpful for us to have within the pull requests. Yeah, that's pretty much it from me. Just open to questions now. You can also go through the documentation that we have, that I showed, that is GitHub action events. They clearly have everything mentioned, and you can do complex workflows going through the documentation. That's a very helpful documentation that you can check out.
Any questions, folks? So we have a question from Roshan. It says, how can we test the workflows locally? Is it possible?
Yeah, I just showed you, we generally have commands to run the test cases locally. Like if you do npm run test, this runs the test cases locally. You can see what is passed and what is not passed. Say in case someone misses running these tests locally and push the code, we can add a check there within our workflow to run the tests as well. But yeah, this is the command to run them locally.
No, so this is running the test, right? Can we test the workflow locally? The YAML that we have written.
Oh, we'll have to run it by going to the PR pull request that we have, or the repository that we have, going to actions and running them here.
All right.
This is the way.
The question we have is, can we specify that the workflow runs in a Docker container instead of Ubuntu?
Yeah, actually there are other runners that are available as well. One second, let me share my screen again. GitHub runners. These are different GitHub hosted runners. Actually, I haven't explored the Docker one, but I did come across uh, one such example wherein they were using Docker. It's possible, probably it should be, I have to go through this once to explore that. But yeah, that is possible as well. And we can also have a self-hosted runners, as I mentioned. Yeah.
And the question we have is, how can we run a workflow for my forked version of a repo before I submit a pull request to the original one?
Okay, how to run a workflow only on my, yeah. So within the actions, once you merged the workflow, within the actions, it will be available. We don't always need to have a pull request because it depends on your use case, like this print hello. Whenever we have it, no, actually, before we merge the code, like when we have the print hello, it will be available in the actions, and we can trigger it manually. Like, go to the actions one. Here it will be, all the workflows will be listed here.
All right. Another question we have is, how is the sensitive data like GitHub tokens mentioned in the YAML file read inside the workflow?
So yeah, we have environment variables that we can have. You can use a env and mention the GitHub token this way. And another point that I missed is, if we want any expression to be evaluated, like we can use a dollar curly braces this way. This gets the value of this expression. It will be treated as a variable here. And this is one such way. And then we can have like Slack web URL tokens and everything written within the environment env keyword.
And where will this be added in the repo?
So these are by default available. Like the GitHub token is by default available in the repo. So that value is automatically generated for us.
So let's say there's a Slack web URL, then where do we add it?
There is uh, there is a env here.
No, I think you are in the profile setting. It should be in the
Oh,
project settings. Go to the project only, like see if there's a settings tab there.
repository. Within this repository, the settings here. Yeah, we have secrets and variables. We can create the environment secrets here.
All right. So just click on manage once and then there's just a pop-up. Okay, new environment. And
And
okay.
the configuring event.
Okay, can you just show it once? Just put any name. Okay,
Yeah,
add environment secret. So you add a name and a value. Perfect. Cool. Another question we have is, which is a follow-up to the previous question, will the YAML file also be merged along with the PR?
Yeah, you can see that. Yes, you can see that. We can merge the YAML files itself also. Like initially we merged the print hello YAML file, and you can see that is available here
All right. So
under.
all the workflows will be there in the .github
Yeah,
folder.
you can see all the workflows that are there.
All right. And another question we have is, for every PR that is generated, can we have some test workflows? I think you showed it. Uh,
Yes,
it's using the on keyword, and then you have some possible event trigger. So there's a event trigger for a new PR as well, right?
yes. Let me just show it again. GitHub event.
Maybe we can just search GitHub Actions trigger events.
Yes, events that trigger the workflow. These are the different triggers that we can have. Pull request, when pull request is commented, or when there is an issue that is opened. So these are the different ones. This is the one that we use.
Got it.
Push.
So
Yeah.
to answer your question, Amitesh, you can use the pull underscore request trigger to run something when any PR is created.
Yeah, I'll share the slide and add the sources, that is the GitHub docs and all of them, and share it with you all. I think Swapnil, I'll share
Yeah.
it with you,
Yeah,
and then
just share with me. I'll send out an email with all the links. Cool. I think we covered a bunch of questions, and seems like we answered them all. And the best way, folks in the audience, the best way to learn more about it is always going hands-on. So like, just uh, create a workflow, test it out. Once you start seeing it being run in your commits, PRs, and merges, you'll yourself want to go deeper into it. But yeah, starting is the hardest part. We hope with this talk, you get that nudge to just start using it. And once you start using it, like we said, the possibilities are endless. You'll just, there's a lot of things that GitHub Actions handles for you automatically. So you just need to configure it in a way that makes sense for you and just try it out. Like that's the best way. And yeah, with that, we've come to the end of this talk. Thank you, Sneha, for taking out time on a Sunday morning and showing us a lot of demos. I think that's the best way to uh, like show any concept, and like that's how anyone would like want to use it as well. So yeah, great having you with us. And yeah, for everyone else, just try it out. Let us know how it goes. If you have any questions, feel free to ping me or Sneha anytime. And yeah, Sneha, if you can just drop your handles in the chat, that would be great as well.
yeah, I will just put in my Discord handle. Yeah, this is my Discord handle that you can reach out to me on.
All right,
Yeah.
cool.
Thanks,
With that,
Swapnil. Thanks everyone for joining.
all right, folks, have a good rest of the Sunday and see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye.